yes, I'm certainly not an expert. I'm a collector of pretty plants, unique plants. I'm a collector of anything that catches my eye, and I'm certainly not an expert. So please feel free to jump on in and, you know, tell me what you know about these plants. I went through my greenhouse, you know, having some time off this summer, and being an online teacher for 10 weeks, I did have more time on my hands. I worked very hard in those 10 weeks, but having more time to dedicate to my greenhouse was very beneficial in getting me through that lockdown period, especially online teaching. It was almost the death of me, and now I've got to do it again for 9 more weeks coming up. So, you know, I really went in there and looked at things and tried to pick a variety of plants that I really love. Some of the pictures that I'm going to show you this evening, the plants are no longer with me. Like I said, I'm attracted to things that catch my eye and that are unique, but I've had my fair share of killing things too. But I try to pick some things that that I love, and certainly, you know, Tim told me to keep it between 30 and 45 minutes, and I could fill a slideshow with so many more. So this is what I picked, and some of you, you know, Bill and Mark and Jared, you might see some plants from your greenhouses in my slide presentation, but please, anybody feel free to jump in and help me out. I'd appreciate that. So I did not go with the prestigious Briggs Conservatory. Like I said, I'm a little bit more humble than that, but I'm really honored that you think my little 10 by 14 greenhouse is a prestigious conservatory. So here we go. So we built our greenhouse in 2017. Actually, we saw a flyer at one of our meetings, and it's Arcadia Glass House in Madison. And we were passing around a flyer at one of our meetings, and Mike and I finally just looked at each other and said, okay, let's do this. I was a windowsill grower. I have, you know, my south-facing windows into our backyard were constantly filled with plants, and they really struggled with growing. So we decided to build the greenhouse that you see, and we had to go through all the variances and everything, but we set out for it to be 10 by 14. I think we squeezed in 10 by 16, and it's what you see there. So we've had it for about 3 years, and there's been some growing pains, of course, that I struggle with humidity a little bit. The picture on the right, it looks jam-packed, but I have to tell you, there's social distance in there. I have plenty of room for more, plenty of room. You just can't see it. I do move, it looks like it's a mess, but it's totally a working greenhouse. I'm an artistic person, so I'm messy sometimes too. My classroom's super neat, my desk is not. My kids always say, Mrs. Briggs, you gotta clean up your desk if you want us to clean up ours. But I do move plants around. I try to create zones in my greenhouse as much as I can. I do have a shade cloth on it. We are, like I said, the backyard is totally south. And what I mean by totally south, it is scorching south. And we've got bright light. And so you see one shade cloth on the top up there. And this picture I just took 2 days ago. But we normally have to cover the side with a shade cloth too. Mike keeps pressuring me to take the shade cloth off because he feels that it's about time going into fall, but I'm holding on to that top shade cloth for as long as I possibly can. I've had some sunburn. Look at, he's advancing me already. So anyway, like I said, it looks jam-packed, but it's not. I move things around because—
You got 45 minutes, man. Can you let her go?
Well, I told him tonight at dinner, I'm like, what are you going to contribute to this? And he's like, I'm the supporter. I help you buy plants, you know. But yeah, we do have a little electric heater that sits on the floor in the greenhouse. And it goes and goes and goes all winter long. We do have the lights on. I don't have the lights on now, but they are hanging in there. So that's what it looks like I said, as of right now. Okay, now you can advance. I thought it would be cool to show you some behind the scenes of what I do. I like to take pictures. I'm not a photographer. It's something I like to do on the side of my plants. And, you know, I do have an Instagram account, just simply the Briggs Greenhouse. And this is what I do at my former teacher friend, she ripped off part of her table and gave it to me so I could photograph my plant. So you could see it's propped up against my pavilion, and then what you see of me taking the picture there. So a lot of the pictures that you see on my account, or what you'll see tonight, is me doing that. And we do have a sun problem, so depending on what time of day it is, I go around that pillar with that ripped off tabletop. So I love euphorbias, and I said that in the last meeting. And this is probably one of my most favorite plants. It's pretty tall. It's probably 1.5 feet with the leaves. And I think Bill told me it's one of the most poisonous plants.
No, that actually, you'd think that, and originally I thought that was the meaning, but actually it's named for a Frenchman, Poisson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
it is, being euphorbia, it obviously is poisonous, but the name is actually a person.
But not as poisonous as we thought.
Well, it's poisonous. It's euphorbia.
I think you told me that if you throw it in a lake, the fish will die.
With that one,
no?
It's so valuable, I don't think you'd throw that one in the lake.
Well, it's valuable to me, especially, you know, I got this out in a couple of years ago. I think my very first trip to Arizona, we went to, I think it's a place called Arizona Cactus Sales, something very general like that. And it was in the owner's private collection, and I was really taken with it. And he let me have it. Well, he let me buy it. So this is one of my prized plants. So that's why I put it on the very first slide. So I'm going to show you some of my euphorbias that I have in my collection in the next couple slides. So these, I'm terrible at pronouncing scientific names, so I've provided the scientific names there. The one on the left I got in a shipment from Los Angeles back in June. And the pine cone one I've had for quite a while. So you can see the growth marks on that as well.
Just a comment, Chris. Euphorbia buplerifolia is a very difficult plant to find today. 30, 40 years ago, for some reason, they were quite common and available in the trade, mail order, and you could get seed. And then it literally just disappeared for some reason. You couldn't buy it anywhere. So it's interesting that you have one of those. Because
this is my second one. I got my first one, I think, out in Arizona, maybe when we were at the show together. Was at the national show.
Yeah.
I bought one. It was much smaller, probably. So you can see where it changes colors. It was probably that tall, not this plant. And then this one, I believe, may have come from California somewhere. So this is I've had this one for a little over a year. So these are newer plants for me. Like I said, I do have a friend out in California, the Desert Creations, and he heads up, I believe, the Los Angeles club. And I've got these two back in June. The one on the left, I actually have two, and I really liked it. So they had a sale, so I got that one. But the one on the right is something brand new to me, and it's thriving in my greenhouse, which is good. Anywhere I put it, because I do move things around sometimes, but it's doing great. And that one's definitely taller. As you can see, that one's under a foot though.
Well, just a comment, Chris, the ones that have no leaves want to be drier in the wintertime when you shut them down. Because like buplerifolia, even though it has leaves in the winter, that one wants to be drier. But like Rossii and some of these that have that kind of foliage, I think they're Madagascar, they seem to want more water all winter long.
And and like I haven't had, like I said, on the left, that's my second one, and it did get a little dry, but this one's still pretty green. And I do pretty good with euphorbia keeping their leaves, even in the winter. Couple drop them, but we'll see how this one goes this winter. The one on the left does extremely well for me. I have a couple of those, and that one's a pretty tall one, although you can only see the top. And that one I've had for quite a while, the one on the left. And the one on the right is the one I showed you live last meeting. So I wanted you just to see a picture of it. Since the last meeting, it has a lot more leaves. But that picture I took from an Instagram account you know, back for the last meeting, right when the leaves were coming back. When like I said, when I first got it in the shipment, there were no leaves, and I actually thought, is this going to grow? It looked dead, but it's cool looking without the leaves. But with the leaves are so green, I just love it. And the one on the right, I got from Jeff, and I really have to repot it. I mean, you can't see in the picture. That picture is a couple months old, but it's got a lot of pups, and I just love the color on it. But I got that from him probably last year, and it's probably about this big, so it's a pretty good size. And that's another one that no matter where I put it in the greenhouse, it stays, it keeps its color, and it's very successful. But like I said, I do have to repot it because it's just bursting out of the pot. And the one on the left is a newer one that I got in the shipment that I just showed you. It came leafless, or it dropped its leaves, and now it's growing back. This is one that I bought, one of my first ones that I ever bought. So this is one I was actually growing in my south-facing window in my office. And it's gone through many different, you know, sometimes it does turn, some of the arms do turn yellow, and I've had to repot it a couple of times. And I don't know where I got it from. Either it came from Arizona, California, but I did buy it. I don't even know. I can't even remember, to tell you the truth, but I did see some out at the national show, and it's pretty large. You know, that bigger head is pretty big, but it's, you know, I've had it for a while, and there's so many times that I thought it's dying, and it comes back. So a lot of it, you know, I'm a lover of Crown of Thorns, and most of these came from Bill's greenhouse. Mike always tells me that I'm not allowed to have another Crown of Thorns plant. So anytime I go out to Bill's, I'm like, okay, got to get another one because I can get one there.
We end up coming back home and I find one underneath the front seats.
I just love them. But I put, you know, I made an assortment. I have 3 slides just to show you the different flowers. And I didn't put their names, although, you know, I do know some of them. But I'm just taken by them, and I think they're really cool. And
well,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you want to add, when you're not around Mike, since you're a West Sider, Mark Langdon had a couple of really nice ones this year, because I got one from him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so keep that in mind.
Well, my latest one is that one on the right, the crested one. And I was actually reading a blog or something, and they were talking about it, and they were saying how rare it was. And then I went out to Bill's greenhouse, and he had one. I'm like, oh, you know, and so I think I actually got 2 because I'm like, I had to have backup. You know, it was so cool to me.
Chris,
Bill, go ahead.
Just a nice, the thing about passing along plants, that actually was a plant I got from Penny Chaikin. And old members will remember Penny, who was secretary treasurer of the club many years ago. She's no longer with us, but I have several of her plants, or you know, from cuttings or things I got out of her collection over the years, and that's one of them. So it's nice to, some of these plants have, you know, there's things that go back. I have plants from old members all the way back to the 60s, from John and Teresa Bach, and that's Mammillaria teresae. Another one from John Rogers, a Warthia that when I think I was still a teenager when I joined the club, and John was a school teacher in Lorraine, and he did the article Seriously Speaking in the 40s, 50s, and 60s in the National Cactus Journal, if you go back to the old journals.
That's pretty cool. Go ahead and advance the next slide. Just more pictures. The one on the right, I did get from Bill, I believe, and I love the variegated leaves on it. As soon as I saw that, I was just like, wow, you know. And I did get a variegated one. I don't have from you just recently, which is very different, like the peppermint. Is it called peppermint stick or candy stripe or something? But I didn't include that one in here. But I wanted to ask you, Mike was supposed to remind me. I was reading another. I don't know where I was reading, but I read that you could get a crown of thorns without thorns, and it's extremely rare. Is that something that's true?
That would be a crown of thornless.
I know that's what he's saying. You know? I know. And I was like, right in thinking, okay, that's the next thing I have to go on a mad hunt for. And then when I was telling him, I'm like, bring it up at the meeting. Remind me to ask, ask at the meeting. He's like, but that would be a crown of thornless.
Yeah, but you know what? That would not be impossible, just probably very difficult to find.
I don't know, Jared or Mark, have either one of you ever seen it?
It's just going to take the mutation or the variation in the epidermis. So I bet you it's possible. I just don't know if anyone's ever gotten it.
Yeah, so I don't know. Well, I'm sorry, I did put one of the variegated. I forgot about that one. On Instagram, the one on the left was one of my most hit upon liked pictures. And that's one of Bill's plants from one of our shows that I got. And the one on the right is a huge one that started off smaller, and I got it from, I think, Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's really pretty successful in the greenhouse. Of course, if I put outside, I think it would be more successful, but it's doing a pretty good job in the greenhouse.
Hey, I've got to chime in there. There is Andrew put up a thornless crown of thorns link on our chat, so check that out.
So it is something, possibly, maybe, huh? It's a quest. So I just thought I'd throw in some of the astrophytum that I have as well. The one on the left is a new guy from Home Depot, $6. And I brought him home, put him in the greenhouse, and he flowered. And I was like, that's pretty cool, to find that at Home Depot of all places this summer. And on the right is one that I splurged for out of California. And when I pulled it out of the packaging, I think it wasn't even overnighted, but it came with a bud on it. And I just, took it out and laid it in my greenhouse to repot a little bit later, and the flower immediately opened up. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that's one that, like I said, I splurged on. Go ahead. Just some more. The one on the left, I can't remember where I got that one from, but the one on the right is, I think, an Arizona one. And so the next section, I just thought I'd share some different cool ones that I have. I think this one actually came from Jeff out of his greenhouse. And I know he's got a couple, that's why I think it's from him, but it's baseball. It's the size of a baseball, but I thought it was pretty cool when it flowered. It's not much to look at when it doesn't flower, but it's cool. And these are just some cool ones that I got not too long ago out of California, one of the California places. When we go out to, Mike used to have an office out in Los Angeles. And like I said, we have friends out there, Desert Creations. And because they head up the Los Angeles club, they always include us on a couple things, telling us when they have sales and behind the scene things. And we also tour around places closer to Los Angeles when we go out there to buy plants. So these are some of the plants out there. The spiral one comes from Desert Creations out in Northridge. These are some more just unusual ones. Obviously the one on the right, I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I think I would totally embarrass myself if I did, but it's all about, they kind of look like, are they doing all right? But I took these last night and I couldn't get the lighting right, but I wanted to show you. And some more goodies that I really, really like. I love the one on the left. It kind of reminds me of a punk rocker. I try to show my students my pictures all the time. And when we have a morning announcement, I put a picture of a cactus up or a succulent, and they just love, and they love that one, and they're like, oh, it kind of looks like a mohawk, even though it has, the side. So, and the grafted one on the right, they love that one too. So, this bunch of kids coming up, I'm not sure how, I can present them online, but we'll see. This one actually got from Mark, I believe. Not when I was out at Mulberry, but I believe I bought this one at Mustard Seed, the supermarket type place, and I think it had a Mulberry tag in it. So I do believe that this is one of his, and I've had it for over a year. It shoots out those flowers a lot. And these two are ones that I got just recently in California, and the climbing onion on the left, it just came as an onion. And I'm like, I'm trying this. I saw it online. I'm like, Mike, I'm trying this. And it's really taken off. And Artie said, if you put it outside, it's going to go crazy. Well, I didn't put it outside because I have so much outside. And we have a huge deer problem. I didn't want it to munch on it. So as soon as it started to shoot out, I left it in the greenhouse. It's underneath the bench, actually, on the ground. And it is just totally taking off. I have to go in there and just work it around the trellis all the time. And the Pachypodium is just, I think it's super cool. In not the next slide, but the following one, I have the same plant, but it's not crusted. And I know, Tim, you love these, and I love them too. I have 4 of them. I bought one out at the national show that's really big. Not this one, really, really big with the deep grooves. But this one is not a recent picture, it's from last year, but this one is my middle-sized one. Then I have a small and a smaller one, but it's just started to shoot out the vine 2 days ago. So I'm pretty excited that it's actually doing that early for me, whereas the bigger one won't shoot out until later in the fall. And this is just the flowering section. Oh, there on the right is the Pachypodium. It's not crusted, and you could see the flower off of that. So I'm thinking it would have the same type of flower if it did flower for the crested one. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is just a flowering section of me taking, and the one in the middle, I don't have the name for it, but that is another one of Mark's that I bought at the show, the Kalanchko, just to show flowers.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, there we go. We call it Love's Triangle. It blooms in the early spring, and boy, it's a gorgeous plant. Make sure that when you're growing it in the summertime, that you do not give it too much sunlight. It likes a little bit of shade in the summertime.
Yep, and that's where I have it. I have it in a spot. I'm really bad with Kalanchkos. But this one's holding on. And if it's doing okay in a certain section, I leave it there. And if it's doing okay with the amount of water that I'm giving it, I tend to keep with that. But usually,
it loves lots of water and fertilizer for the summertime.
Thank you for that. I will have to fertilize it now. But I just, the next, the last couple slides here are just all the different flowers. And so you can see the different shapes and different colors of flowers that many of you, I'm sure, have on yours too. So just going through so you can see them all. The Perodia, it flowers for me all the time. So that one's pretty good for me. The Euphorbia down below, I think it's so cool how it keeps in groups of the 4, just like that, tightly packed together. The one on the left is a winter grower. So I took that picture in the winter time. And the one up top with the pink flower, I just lost that this week. It was pretty unusual and something, it kind of looked like mealy, but it kind of didn't, and it just kind of overtook it. Maybe it was mildew, and I worked on it, and finally it just kind of, no, it kind of just mushed. So I lost that one, and so I put the picture in because I was like, I think I'll have to look for a new one. But that was pretty rare for me to find, and I can't remember where I got it from. Okay. The one on the right is one of Bill's, the woolly torch, and this, I think it's one that he just used his cactus all and locked off out of his greenhouse. And by the way, I'm still looking for a cactus saw. But this one is almost about 2 feet tall. It's the tallest one in my greenhouse. And last summer when we were putting in our patio extravaganza, you could see the straw in the background. We were just putting in the grass and it flowered. And so it's pretty cool to see just the shape. And just some more different kinds, just so you can see the different flowers. Hedgehog always amazes me. The pink is so striking. And just some more. And this is it. This is all you get. Milk cactus to end, so you can see some seeds. So thanks for sticking with me and listening to me. I made it.